Good morning. I want to thank COL for inviting me to come and speak to you this morning. Thank the rest of the panel members. There are a lot of very interesting and informative talks. Unfortunately, I don't have a PowerPoint to go through, so I'm going to have to do cleanup just by speaking off the cuff. There are a few things that I want to talk about for a few minutes. I'm going to open it up to questions. I'd like to have some time for folks to interact with the panel. And I thought I'd start by sort of painting a broader picture of our role on the Appropriations Committee, my boss's role as chairman of the CGS subcommittee, sort of what we're looking forward to this year, fiscal year 2016, budget-wise, appropriations-wise, funding, what that means for programs that this group is probably particularly interested in, and then try to connect that to some of the issues going on in the Arctic now. So last month we got the president's budget. We're still in the process of reviewing that. The subcommittee that I work on oversees Department of Commerce, Department of Justice, and Science, which is NASA, National Science Foundation, and OSTP. There are a number of challenges that we're dealing with right now. I'd say the first is without an act of Congress, we're back under sequestration. The president's budget proposal overall was $74 billion over what sequestration has limited federal spending to be for FY16. I personally don't foresee anything happening to sort of change that, at least not in the short term. I think if there's any movement on sequestration, it might be for raising defense caps, which means there would be more pressure on some of the discretionary civilian programs. And so, as a committee, we get the president's request and proposal and review what the priorities are, but then we have to work in a more realistic budget environment. So right now we're in the process of holding our hearings with the Secretary of Commerce in last week. Administrator Bolden of NASA is coming in tomorrow if the weather permits, and then we'll do the Department of Justice. Throughout this process, we're meeting with the different agencies and bureaus, and they're highlighting their priorities. And then we're meeting with groups and constituents, and I have to say, events like this are great because it gives us an opportunity, folks on the Hill, to hear what the priorities and concerns are from the community and constituents and stakeholders. So it's very valuable to us. A few things that I just want to highlight as far as CGS appropriations, particularly in NOAA and NSF. So within the NOAA program, there are a few things that were proposed for FY16 that might be of interest to this group. Arctic spill response, there's an increase for that. Regional coastal resiliency grants, some of you might have heard about that, $45 million increase for a relatively new program. Within OAR, there was a requested increase for our Arctic research program, and there was a little talk of ocean acidification earlier. There's a huge increase requested for that. One thing that I think sort of caught my boss's eye and a few others on the committee was the juxtaposition of these new programs, relatively new programs, requested significant increases, and some of the long-standing core programs within NOAA, particularly, remaining flat-funded. In some cases, not even accounting for inflation at FY16. That would include hydrographic surveys, mapping, charting, use, programs that have garnered a lot of member support from both sides of the aisle and a lot of constituent and stakeholder support as well. So as we go into writing our bill for FY16, there are a couple things we have to do. We have to manage expectations for folks who are excited and believe in and support these new initiatives. Also address the concerns of folks who support base programs and operations, but also make sure that everyone understands that we're probably going to be working under a really constrained and tough fiscal environment. And so I guess the most important message that I could give to folks here is to keep doing what you're doing, which is coming up to DC attending events like this, giving talks, and communicating the message as to why, programs that support Arctic research, better understanding the changes that are happening up there, and why members should care. It's not just an environmental and ecological problem, but it's potentially a huge economic problem. There are huge ramifications potentially for national security, and I think at the end of the day, greater understanding and at some point being able to predict and forecast what changes might be coming should be in the best interest of a lot of folks up here. So again, I just want to thank you for having me, and look forward to any questions that you might have, and particularly any concerns that you might have as related to the budget, the president's requests, and programs that are largely supported by this community. Thank you.